welcome to today is October 26th, WDIC Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Welcome. I am Rachel Graham. I'm Vice Chair of WDIC and an employee at the Tompkins County Clerk's Office. I guess we will start with announcements. One announcement I'm sure everybody got notice of. Our chair, Henry Granison, has announced that he is resigning his position at the end of the month. And we know he did not make this decision lightly, but he is needing to focus on his health at this time. So we on WDIC are grateful for Henry's service and his commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion, and justice work here in Tompkins County. And we wish healing and strength to him and know that he will be rooting for all of the good work that we'll continue to do here. This point, I guess I'll just open it up to anybody who'd like to say anything, or if anyone has any procedural questions from now to the end of the year.
So I just have a calendar item to talk about. So there's been discussion about changing the November meeting date from the 23rd to the 30th because that's the day before Thanksgiving.
Right.
So we could combine the November and December meeting, and that could be the 7th if we'd like to do that. Or we could move to the 23rd.
Did you say something about the 7th?
Yep, so if we wanted to combine the two meetings, that would be on December 7th.
Okay.
If we wanted to do the two separate meetings, we would move November 23rd to November 30th.
Okay.
Because the December meeting falls just after Christmas also.
Right.
So.
Right. It's like the 28th or something.
Yep.
Okay. I'm okay with combining them. Does anyone have objections to combining them? Anne?
Yeah, traditionally for many years, we have combined the last two or skipped December. Also we're going to be, our clerks in the legislature, we're going to be a little bit short staffed. So another reason to do that. And then we could reconvene. I like the first week in December and then reconvene in January.
Okay.
I'm also a fan of that.
All right. So December 7th it is.
December 7th. So just like everybody want to check their schedule, December 7th at 3:30.
And that's not something we'd need to vote on, right? We can just all agree.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I can't make that date, but feel free to leave it up. I have a conflicting meeting at 3:30.
Does anyone else have conflicts? Okay.
Okay, so now
Rachel, I
that
just wondered if you want to just state too, after we do this, who or have folks go around in the chamber so we, just so we know who's there.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we're set for the 7th then, right?
Kate has her hand
And
up.
it'd be same time, 3:30.
We can move that time if you all are open to it. We here in Chambers, we don't have anything else scheduled that day.
Okay.
So if there's another time that's more convenient for committee members, that's entirely up to you.
I think we might as well just keep the same time.
Okay.
Kate?
yeah, I was just gonna. I'm assuming that they will send out a new calendar invite, but just expecting that. So okay, thank you.
All right, so let's just do some introductions for everyone that's here, and we'll start with those of you in chambers.
I'm Taylor Spencer. I'm a deputy clerk of the legislature.
Holmes County Administrator.
Jen Micah, I work at Cornell. This is my second meeting.
Veronica Miller, county legislator.
Brittany Creek, deputy clerk of the legislature, soon to be out on maternity leave. So Taylor's in charge.
And from here, I'll just go in order of who I see on my screen, and next is Kate.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kate Shanks Booth, Director of Tompkins County Youth Services Department, and I think this is my second or third, it's been my third year getting ready to go my third year with the committee, so.
And is it Deanna?
It's Dina.
Dina.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Dina Bodnar. I'm Deputy Commissioner at DSS, and I've started this past fall to WDIC.
Thank you, Annie.
Hi, Annie Corman, County Legislator and previous Chair of WDIC, and I've been on WDIC this is going on my 5th year.
And Ruby.
Ruby Pulliam, Commissioner of Human Resources, and I am a guest. I am a non-voting, I am a guest of WDIC. I am not a member.
And I'm seeing Bridget and here. Whoever wants to, Bridget, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Bridget Nugent, Deputy County Administrator. I've been in this position since the end of June, so haven't yet been able to attend a WDIC meeting in that time frame. So I'm also here just as a guest. Nice to see you all.
Hi, everybody. Dominic Recchio. You can call me Dom. I'm our Communications Director in County Administration. I often join as a guest and or reporter back to view of work that's ongoing. Happy to be here.
Thanks, everybody. Does anyone else have any announcements? Seeing Annie.
It's not an announcement, but I just wanted to say, thank you, Rachel, for, your kind words, about Henry and Henry Granison, and I want to thank you for, stepping in a lot this year and helping us get through, through the next couple of months.
Of course, thanks, Annie. Okay, so now we can move on to our minutes approval from August 24th. Do we have questions or comments about the minutes from the August meeting? And if there are none, a motion to approve. Oh, thank you. Kate moves, Annie seconds. And just for the show of hands.
We need to do a roll call since we're part virtual.
We should, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So Rachel Graham, I am here, present. I just go through the list of all the people on the committee.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then
just
they'll say
to-
yes. Yes,
Okay.
To approve the
So-
minutes.
I've got Henry on here, who's not here. Leslie McBean Claiborne, not seeing here. Veronica Pillar is present. And Corman.
We're voting on the minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not giving people time. All right, Annie.
Yes.
Okay, Robert Brown is not here. And Kate.
Yes.
And Ken Clark is not here. Lisa.
Yes.
And Kit is not here. Larry is not here. And Jennifer.
Yes.
And Dina.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is, I think I got everybody. Okay, minutes approved. Now on to discussion items.
May I ask
Yes, Lisa.
So is WDIC subject to open meetings? Or not? Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you.
Brittany, you said no?
Correct, we are not.
Okay. I think that was a question that we were talking about the other day too. Okay, so our first discussion item is our update on our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer.
I can provide that update. And I sent out notice to the legislature, to the hiring panel. We have selected our new Chief Equity Diversity Officer. Her name is Anitra Rivera. We're excited to have her joining us. She will be joining us on December 12th. She's going to be moving to the area from Missouri. She's joining us from the Missouri University of Science and Technology, where she served as Director of Student Diversity Initiatives and Acting Assistant Vice Chancellor of Equity and Title IX, Chief Diversity Officer, Chief Equity Officer, and Title IX Coordinator. And she's excited to come here. She's familiar with the area. She has 2 sons who are attending Cornell. And she's in the midst, as I said, of navigating the move here. She can make the move sooner. She will start sooner, but I think that she's looking for housing. So.
Great. We're excited about her starting.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, next discussion item we have, we're actually moving to our next meeting because Ruby did not get, we didn't get in touch with Ruby about reporting on updates for performance evaluation training.
Rachel, I can
Yes.
give a brief
Okay.
update just where we are. And it's very brief, so I can do that. As you know, the policy evaluating employee performance was modified on July 19th, 2022. We sent an email to department heads requesting that they submit a summary of the process they're currently using, as well as a sample tool that they're currently using, so that we could review and make sure all the components of the new policy have been included. We did receive responses from about 9 of them. Several of them prefer to use the current process, which is fine. And we're evaluating those to make sure most of the people are missing the adherence to county values because it's a new component. So we're reviewing those, and I will be sending a new email out for those who did not respond. So based upon that, right now we have actually done training with one department specifically who's chosen to use the new form. And as we get them in and as they need the training, we will do so. But we wanted to kind of do an overall training, but since most of them are using their own tools, we're doing it department by department.
Okay.
So
That's great. Thank you, Ruby.
you're welcome.
Any questions about the performance evaluation policy and training? All right, moving on to update on the LAP policy and procedures.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to, unless Lisa, if you wanted to kick any of this off or.
No, I'll turn it right over to you, Don.
Great. So earlier this year, July, the legislature passed the updated language access and language assistance policy. Previously, it was the limited English proficiency policy. And I'll give a few sort of high level overviews and then a little bit more granular of some of the work that's ongoing. So as you have all heard a few times, I think in the past, this policy uses a lot more inclusive language as to what we are actually trying to do around language access. Before it talked about people with limited English proficiency a lot, whereas we've sort of change some of the language to be about language access, accessing our materials in people's native language. We talk about language use instead of proficiency. So people, a little bit more acknowledging and respectful of people's proficiency in their own language, rather than having everything always have to be in the dominant culture language, that we live in. So I'm excited about those changes in general, and I think that was really really great of the legislature to approve and put forward. One of the other changes that is in this policy, and you'll also see this come up probably in the social media policy as well that's being revised, is the concept of critical public information. We just have so much information that the county posts, publishes, puts out, etc., mainly on our website and through documents. And to be honest, not all of that is critical. And if we were to translate every single word of every single thing we had, it would not be it's just unfeasible with what we have. We'd have to sort of start over doing a process. So instead we decided to do defining things as critical public information, things that may have to do with your health, your civic engagement, like voting, safety, access to critical services, democratic process, sort of things like that. And so that's sort of where the actionable area that I wanted to report on today has come into place. So the very first thing that we've set ourselves to do with this policy is implement website changes that will, one of the things we did was before we even altered the policy, we went back to organizations in town who work with and represent people who use a primary language other than English. And one of the first things that we heard from them was, a lot of people have a good experience with the language line resource when they walk in the door, and they know they can point on a sheet and find their language and make a phone call. Hasn't worked perfectly for everyone, but the general thing we heard was that's a good process, but really it's the website and it's the finding resources in our language to then get to that point. So we're sort of going earlier in the process of people getting information, which I think was a great insight for us, rather than making posters and inclusive messaging type things, which is where I think we were headed before. We moved, earlier in the process, and we're actually translating our information. So we've gone through the website and broken out what falls under the definition of critical public information, and made all of those pages queued up to be translated by hand. There's sort of a demarcation in the policy of things that should be translated by humans or by machine translation. Let's say the human translation is near 100% correct. Machine translation somewhere between 75% and 100% correct, sort of how the industry works. And so we went through and found all the pages that contain critical public information and set those up to be translated into the languages that are popular, frequently used in our community. I think we're at 8 or 9, I'm forgetting exactly off the top of my head, that we're actually translating the website into, and by hand. And what's happening right now is we've contracted with around 11 individuals in the community for a mix of those 8 or 9 different languages to actually do the translation. So we're paying people in Tompkins County or who live here, or maybe they may be a graduate student traveling or something. There's a mix of where people actually physically are at the moment, but we're essentially paying local individuals who have the skill of being able to translate our English materials into their native language, or a language that they're fluent in. And that's going really well so far. We're 3 weeks into the actual translation of those, and we've had the process has been going really well. We have a software tool that overlays on our website, and it looks like we'll be able to launch in the very beginning of next year with all of those translated resources out there. So yeah, it's been really great working with those individuals in the community who are fluent in those languages and can do the work. And it's great to keep that money that the legislature approved, much of which is coming from, if not all of which, I think, from the American Rescue Plan Act funding to do the first batch. It's probably around $150,000 that's going out to individuals who are doing this contracted work. So that's been the real focus, and that's taking up a lot of time and energy and resources from my end. One of the reasons I look forward to the Chief Equity and Diversity Officer starting is because I'll share some of this work with them. And then from there, we're also doing, the policy talks a little bit more about proactive activities to do as well. So we know that we heard from the community members that the first thing that needs to happen is our materials baseline need to be translated so people can find the resources they need. And then the next thing will be sort of getting even more people who use those languages to see what we have. And so we've started scripting out and filming short videos of our departments and services that may be frequently used by people who are new to the community or who may use a language other than English. We started with the Office of Human Rights as a sample draft one, and we're translating probably 15 videos, 2 minutes or so in length. Each of those videos translated into 8 different languages. So that's a big project, but that was sort of the next thing we heard from those community partners was videos are way more engaging and they're way better for non-native English speakers sometimes because it's an audio, you're hearing someone say it, but you're also able to watch an English version and learn language as you go along. So that's the other area where a lot of the efforts are being put into place. And then there's the ongoing work of preparing trainings for departments, et cetera. But we have to get some of the website things nailed down before we can offer the newly minted designed trainings on how to do some of this work. So there's a couple of different moving targets, but that's the general update I wanted to give today of where we're at and what we've been able to do with the policy and the resources.
Thank you. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you're using people in the community to do the translation. That's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a unique approach. I think I didn't expect it to be. I thought more places would be doing that, but when I'm, using this software tool that allows us to do that, I'm fine. It's the same tool that like Tesla's website uses or Kroger or like, big websites use this similar type tool. They have some governments, I think some New York State offices use it, but they just typically outsource to the translators who are anywhere in the world, but are paid through this service. So we are doing it in a slightly unique way, which is kind of cool. We're using this software tool in a way that most of the others are not.
I have one question. What ways do we have once these are out there and implemented to track how frequently they're being used?
So this tool is called SmartLing, the website translation tool, for example, and there'll be more than just the website. That's just the first activity that we're doing. That has built right in the analytics to tell how often each page is visited, or how often certain languages are being used. So we can see whether the Vietnamese page is being accessed. And my hope, because we know that these communities exist here, we know that there are people who speak Vietnamese, Spanish, Russian, Burmese, etc. And so if we see that those pages aren't being used, I think it's then incumbent upon us to do more outreach to those communities with this in mind. And so to hopefully that data can inform us on what activities to do.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Dom? Veronica.
Thank you. This sounds really awesome. Thank you. I'm wondering, do you remember what the languages are that the website's being translated into? And also, what's it going to look like once that's done, say for someone arriving at tompkinscountiny.gov who prefers another language to English?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull something up while we're talking here so I can show you an example. Let's see. And okay, so the languages, and again, they're based on a mix of the population in the community and also studying the frequency of use already in our services. So we know a lot of Spanish speakers use DSS, for example, and so that we have that data that's backed up to come up with which ones of these languages. But right now it's Spanish, Arabic, simplified and traditional Chinese, Vietnamese, Karen, Burmese, Russian, and French. And so, yeah, that mix of languages, between the most popular and the communities who've expressed the need through some of the data that we already track, because the county already does a lot of this to reach it, to meet the needs of individuals when they walk in the door or when they call. But this is just a different approach. So, I don't want you to think it's all a whole new thing, because it does happen. There are departments who do this all the time, but we're just hoping to really enhance that. And then the experience of what someone who's looking for the information will have. Our website will have a nice designed little drop down in the top left corner that will have a little icon that shows you the different language options. And when you click that icon, you will see the first 8 languages I just listed will be the first 8 listed there, because they're going to be the ones that are translated by human hands for the critical public information. And then it will list every other language that the machine will translate. So the most frequently used will be found up at the top, and then the rest you'll find below. The other cool thing that what we'll be able to do is, if someone's web browser or their social media page or whatever is in one of those languages, they click, like, let's say someone clicks from Facebook onto the county's health department page. If their settings are right, or if they've been to our page before, they'd automatically hit that Arabic page or that French page, and it serves them up the most recent content that's made. Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments for Don? I just have one quick question. Is this also changing, because we currently had a service that we could use on the phone? Is it going to change that as well?
Nope. So that service will stay the same. It's language line. That part of the policy is all essentially staying the same. We also have a document translating contract company called Empire Interpreting. They are excellent. We'll still use them for certain things. The way it's sort of broken out is there's funds budgeted every year in the county's budget that departments have access to, that runs through administration. This stuff is sort of on top of that, as a try out these new approaches and see what size investment we need to make in the future. So the language line will still continue. What will change is we will have better materials for every department directing people to that service, and more intentional localized training that talks about what we're doing here, because the people who are helping people find their language on the sheet might now have a new opportunity to give them a web page that they're comfortable with getting that information. So it may actually save the county money long term, but that's sort of a ways out in terms of that.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. Really great work. Thank you.
Thanks. Happy to. Yeah, I've learned a ton.
I bet.
It was during COVID that we learned a lot of this, and heard from, specifically, thanks should be given to the Latino Civic Association for coming to the county and saying, this is an issue, this is really difficult. for a lot of Spanish speakers in the community, especially during COVID. And we were able to totally look at what we were doing under COVID differently, invest in things differently. We worked with Cuga Health System to translate the vaccine and the testing information in different ways. And so yeah, that the Latino Civic Association deserves a lot of kudos for their encouragement on this.
Any last questions regarding language access policy? Okay, thanks so much, Dom.
Thank you.
Next discussion item we have is an update on the living wage presentation that we heard in that August meeting.
So I'll take that, I guess. Not much has happened since. Ian Greer, one of the presenters, has said that there will likely be a fully written report going out to the living wage committee, that was discussed extensively at that meeting in mid-November. So I'm hoping to have more of a update at our next meeting if the agenda's not too packed. In the meantime, I had a couple questions I wanted to bring back to this committee. One about does this committee want to take a stance on supporting mandated living wage in Tompkins County, or how might that look? Because I don't believe we really got to discussing that last time. And then second, either way, a question we sort of left open was if this issue is going to work its way through the county legislature, in what committee does it live, and is it this one? I wonder if we could put that back on the table if there's time right now.
Yeah, I think we've got time for that discussion now. Annie?
Yeah, thanks for the update, Veronica, and asking that question about where would it belong. For me, I think that it belongs in this committee for a couple of reasons. One is because we do more interface with things in the community, like that Dom just gave us the update on the language access. I mean, people come to us about things that are equitable, just, and this is one of those issues. So I'd like it to stay in the committee. And the other reason that I'd like to see it stay in the committee is because we have members of the community already built into this committee. So that's my thinking, but I'm open to hearing what other people think.
Rob?
As you might imagine, I'm disappointed to have had to miss that presentation. I was really looking forward to it, but circumstances intervened. I also think that WDIC seems to be a perfect committee for it to live at the committee level because of our specific charge and also because of our relationship with budget as our parent committee. And should we find with the reports that we get and so forth that the committee is interested in entertaining a motion to recommend a position to the legislature, I think that would be certainly appropriate, but I wouldn't want to prejudge that until we get to that point.
Thanks, Rob. And that meeting is available on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Oh, I already have.
Okay.
But I just wanted to be a muck raiser in the stands for it.
Awesome. Annie?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, I don't know, I guess this hasn't been brought up since we didn't have a meeting last month. So and Veronica and I talking with the legislature leadership, they preferred if we, because this could be a pretty meaty topic, that if we looked at this as part of whatever committee it lives in, as part of the 2023 work plan. And I think one of the, we're not sure as we go through the process, is this going to be something that the county's going to work on? I think it's going to involve at some point maybe bringing in Anna Kellis, our state assembly person, or someone from her office to talk with us about, what are they doing at the state level? Do we just want to support them, or do we want to do something here? So I think that'll be one of the big steps that we'll be doing.
Yeah, and especially if we're moving forward with recommending to our legislature that we move forward with local legislation, bringing in Assemblyperson Kellis and other folks at the state level is going to be important anyway, seeing as any local minimum wage action in New York will have to have a variance from the state to permit it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me for that to be within this committee. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. And Annie, like, for all the reasons that you listed, make perfect sense to me. Lisa?
I'm two minds about it, and it doesn't have anything to do with my support for the living wage. It is it has to do more philosophically, or with the makeup of this committee being of staff members as well as community members as well as legislators, and this is ultimately a policy decision of the legislature. So it doesn't preclude this committee, I suppose, from taking a recommendation, but it also, begs the question, are staff and community members empowered to make those decisions, which will ultimately fall to the legislature? So those are my questions.
I would just say, I think that gets back to the core reason why WDIC is an advisory board that permits this kind of membership in the first place. I mean, obviously, I'm biased because I like to meddle and I'm a community appointee. So this is my place in the process. But I think it's reasonable for this committee to consider the subject, decide whether or not to make a recommendation to the legislature, and trust our electeds to represent their constituents as they see fit, considering our recommendation, but independent of it.
I have a question. So historically, have there been other issues on the table similar that have gone through WDIC?
I wouldn't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Or I'm wondering also maybe if there were other issues that arose similarly that it was decided WDIC was not the committee for it to go through, and where it went and why. Yeah, I just don't know how to move forward with it when we don't actually have something to vote on. We could go back and forth about it for a while, I imagine. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder, I don't have a process recommendation, but I wonder if it's helpful to consider the broader question, not necessarily about like a countywide living wage, but to what extent or within what scope does WDIC make policy recommendations? And I guess and I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I feel like the folks for whom this is most sensitive is maybe the county employees who are not elected, as opposed to me and Annie, and as opposed to folks who don't work for the county. I'm not really sure how to navigate it, but I get that might be this is your workplace and policy recommendations are not otherwise part of your job, but then maybe they are part of this committee. And that might be something that maybe it's good that this is coming up before the full living wage report comes back, so we can sort of discuss it not fully in that context. I don't know. What do others think?
Yeah, I know. So I think it was a couple of meetings ago when there was a presentation on land. And the kind of the same issue came up about they were going to propose a vote, but then those of us who are employees, it does have the potential to put us in a difficult situation, given that the legislators are kind of ultimately our employer. So, and the other thing I was thinking about too, I think having it continue to be part of discussion on WDIC makes a lot of sense, but in terms of moving things forward on a larger level, I don't know all the names of the committees now, but I think there's one that's related to economic development or something like that. And so if we're wanting to move it forward into the community in some way and have formal resolutions that move through committees to the legislature, I don't know, that was just my thought of, I understand the diversity part and that we want to continue to, can it live in two committees? I don't think there's anything against that, but anyway, those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Annie.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Dina. So I'm chair of the Planning, Development and Environmental Quality Committee. And so if that's so that might be something we want to try and figure out before we get a presentation back, because with them finishing the living wage report and then presenting it to us, would we want them just to present it right to a committee and then invite WDIC members, of course, to attend, and they can, and then whoever wants to chime in, but that way it's kind of passed the baton already to the committee, or is it government operations? I'm not sure, but just from the, you bring up a good point that I didn't think about before as a possibility for that committee. So gives us more to think about and talk about, because that's right, that committee does, we do cover economic issues in the county.
Anyone else have ideas?
The only other thing that I would say is, because it would be a policy / legislation type of topic, is possibly it going through GO at some point, government operations. I don't know if that's necessary or not. And this is something that I can take back to Kathy and maybe have a discussion with her and Shauna and see how we should approach this.
Right. Yeah, this is something that if I could chime in, it's kind of, it's government operations, but we're not directly affecting Tompkins County government because we already pay a living wage, but it affects the broader community. So, or maybe two committees working together or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to figure out where this goes.
Yeah, I can see it living in budget and HHS and PDEC and GEO. Dabbles in each.
Rob?
As far as there's good arguments, I think, for several possible committee homes. Ultimately, not my decision, but as far as questions that were brought up about precedent with the involvement of advisory committees in policy legislation decisions of similar scope, it's possible that we could look at the precedents from our sibling advisory boards, the Human Rights Commission involvement with discussions of local law C and the other groundbreaking local civil and human rights laws.
Thank you. Anything further on this? I feel kind of weird moving on when nothing's actually been figured out, but I know that conversation will continue outside of WDIC. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
If people, if folks in the community or staff members, if there's more you want to say, but, and maybe not in this forum, feel free to reach out to me, Rachel, Lisa, Bridget, Veronica, any of us, and give us your feedback. We certainly don't want to put people in a position where they're uncomfortable.
Thanks, Annie. All right, so that was all that's on the actual agenda, but I know, so we talked about November meeting dates. We had discussed a possible review of WDIC bylaws. I know there was a little confusion earlier this year when we were asking how many vacancies there are, because in the bylaws, there's a range. I think it's 11 to 15 in the bylaws. So Kathy had asked if we do choose to review the bylaws, if we may want to land on an actual number. So there's not a question in the future about how many vacancies there are and how many seats there are on the committee. It looks like they were adopted in 2006, amended in 2012. So that's something that we might want to look at for the beginning of the year. And I just wanted to mention it so everyone could take a look at them. And I have a copy. If it's easier, I can just email them out to everyone rather than people going and searching for those, if that's helpful.
We have copies here as well. Taylor and I can send out copies to the entire committee.
Okay.
Also, just so you're aware, when Deanna was with us, she and I had operated off of the assumption that we were going to use 15 members instead of the range. So that's kind of what we've been operating on for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
But certainly if that number changes, that's entirely up to this committee.
Okay. This is Annie.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Rachel, that that could be part of our work plan for next year. I like that, to start to take a look at it, especially, be helpful to have the assistance of the clerks, because they're helping advisory, boards. Well, I'll let you guys chime in. Overall what you're doing to try and make things better with the bylaws for all the advisory boards.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there's an advisory board policy that's currently under review to try to streamline advisory boards more or less. Because there are quite a few advisory boards that we have in place that have a range of members, and eventually, hopefully, we can get to some kind of a computer system that manages our advisory board process. As of right now, we have maintained, up until recently, a Word document that we call our card file, where we keep track of appointments and term expirations and the most important information, like, term limits or term lengths for members. We recently just put that into an Excel format to make it a little bit easier for us to look through. And then with the hopes that if we ever go to a computer program to manage this, we can just import the Excel files right into the computer program. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
And we are considering a policy. So it sounds like what you're saying that is that if we had, say, we agreed on 15 members, then that computer program would be able to tell us how many vacancies for, whereas if we said 13 to 15, that literally doesn't compute. So,
Yep.
so it would be good if we settled on a number. And then we're also looking at a revision to the policy to do term limits. Is that correct?
No, nope.
For advisory
that
boards?
That would be up to each individual advisory board, and how they want to restructure their bylaws or how they want to restructure their individual advisory boards. We are not recommending term limits, just that if an advisory board wants to have term limits, we just ask that they have, let's say for this board, just for example, this is obviously not what we're doing, but let's just say we had a 3-term limit. So somebody could serve for up to 9 years because these are 3-year terms, and then they would drop off the board. And then if they wanted to reapply, we would just ask that they wait a minimum of 1 year before reapplying, and then their term limit is gone, basically, because they'll start fresh. But that's not what we're recommending with the advisory board policy. We're just asking, with the policy, we're just asking that the process is streamlined, there's a set number of members for each board, and that like quorum is defined for each board, basic things like that, not necessarily term limits.
Okay.
That makes sense. Anyone have anything further on the bylaws discussion? And then the last, yeah.
Sorry, Rachel, I know this came up, but where can we find the bylaws, or is someone gonna email them out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Are they online anywhere?
I don't think so. Okay, that's something we just maintain here in house if the board sends it to us. Okay.
Awesome.
The last thing we wanted to discuss was in-person versus virtual meetings, since we don't fall under the open meeting.
That's correct.
So I don't know if people have preferences or how easy it is to continue doing both virtual and in person. What are people's?
It's the same either way. We can set up here at the conference table for anybody who would like to come in person. That is entirely up to them and how your schedule allows. But I know it has been discussed here in our office that if people prefer to just remain virtual, we can absolutely do that as well.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to say about Annie?
Yeah, so if we got more folks than, several more folks than could fit at the table there, would it be possible to sit at the big table? Or is that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, and that would involve Rob helping us out with video then?
Nope. We would still do it all ourselves like we are right now. Because this isn't considered, this is, an advisory board of the legislature, so it's not technically a standing committee. So this is something that we've taken on as the clerks. This is solely our responsibility. If it gets to the point where we would like Rob's assistance, we can certainly talk to him about that. But it's something that we've decided on as office staff to maintain just under our purview and to not involve Rob as of yet.
Okay, great. So then you could use that one camera down at the bigger screen there.
Yep.
Okay, So yeah, I'll try. I like the idea of just leaving it up to each person. I'll try and attend some of the time more, in person and maybe if there's times, especially if we're having say if we're having a presentation and the person's coming in person, we might want to like let people know ahead of time and then they can, or certain times of the year to say, hey, let's try and get everybody in person just to, and just so we can see each other a couple times a year at least.
That'd be nice. There was a person. I feel like there was something else. Oh, yes, I plan to send an email out between now and, well, before December 7th. I'd like more input from committee members on agenda items. Because I feel like that hasn't been happening as much as maybe it should. So I'm going to be reaching out so that I can get items to the clerks in a timely manner before they need to send them out and post them, just to get everybody's input and ideas for discussion items for meetings. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And I don't have anything more today unless anyone else does.
Do you want to ask if anybody has anything for the next couple of meetings? Something they want us to focus on?
Sure, yeah, we may as well. Lisa?
I guess my thought would be, since we're coming to the end of the year, if we had committee goals to review progress toward the goals for 2022 and update committee goals for 2023, and those would drive agenda items.
Yeah. At what point should we discuss about chair and vice chair for 2023? Do we have to wait till 2023 to discuss that?
That gets by the ledge chair.
Yeah, so the chair is appointed by the chair of the legislature. The chair of this committee is appointed by the chair of the legislature. And then the committee chooses a vice chair at either the first or second meeting thereafter.
Okay, so that we just wait then.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other ideas for Dina?
So my understanding is the Facing Race Conference is coming up in November and some folks are going to that. So maybe, I don't know, we could invite some people, I think from the Jedi. I don't know who all is going.
Veronica's going. I'm going. I can report back.
So if people could, report out on some of the sessions they went to and what was inspiring and new information, anything like that, I think could be I would love to hear it.
Yes, I'll add that.
We can add that as an agenda topic for the December meeting since the conference is the 17th through the 19th of November.
Yeah. And that will be our next meeting. Okay. Any other items for the December 7th meeting that we can think of right now? All right. Ruby?
Yeah, as a guest, I think we can pull together just the workplace demographic report.
Ooh, okay.
In terms of the demographics, a basic report, no interpretation or anything, just an idea of where we are for the year.
Great. Thank you. Annie?
Yeah, I just want to, as I thanked you, Rachel, I also would be amiss, and I apologize for, not thanking us. I'll thank them now, Taylor and Brittany for helping WDIC and you and all of us, throughout this so far throughout the year. I know we're not done yet, but I know it's been a challenging year.
Yes, thank you.
And Buttercup wants to say thank you too.
Yeah, and best of luck, Brittany.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be thinking of you. All right, I think we can adjourn this meeting. We're at like 1 minute beyond 4:30. We don't need a motion and all of that, right? We can just, okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
You betcha.
Thanks,
Catch y'all next
everybody.
time.
Yep.
Thanks,
see you in
Rachel.
December. Thank you.